Shalom. Giving all the praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Hashem, Yahushua Hashem, Makakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone who rule and teach well. Peace and safety and much blessings to the Yakim that's pushing this truth out the four corners of the earth and all truth and sincerity and in diligence. Shalom. All right, now I just want to get into this topic. Does the Christian church, they like to use this to as a scapegoat to eat detestable foods. It said like they use it's not what goeth in the man would defile him, but what comes out. Okay, and they interpret that wrong and push out this false doctrine. Okay, and it's like you can pull precept after precept after precept. You know what I'm saying? And to show that the Lord is against that, you know. But people are setting their own ways to do their own will, you know, how the scripture says. And I'll get this first, and then we'll get in the lesson. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 32, verse 17. It says, a sinful man will not be reproved, but findeth an excuse according to his will. So a sinful man will not be reproved. These Christians can't be reproved because, you know, they just gotta eat swine. You know, they gotta eat they lobster and they crab, you know, they snow crab, they crawfish balls and things like that. They gotta eat these abominable foods. And then they justify, even whenever you show them, they still justify some type of way, you know, to, hey, it's what goes in the man. It's not what goes in the man that defile him. And they pull these precepts, this one precept, and that makes it all right. But whenever they don't read this wasn't talking about, when you go to Mark, the 7th chapter, this wasn't talking about food. So we'll read, you know, verse 1. So here we go. It says, then came together unto him the Pharisees and certain of the scribes which came from Jerusalem. And when they saw some of his disciples eat bread with defiled, that is to say, with unwashed hands, they found fault. And that's what they were doing. The Pharisees and certain scribes, they were trying to find fault in the disciples, man, looking for anything, you know. But this right here, watch this. It says, for the Pharisees and all the Jews, except they wash their hands off, eat not, holding the traditions of the elders. Okay? So this is basically traditions of men. Okay? This is what they're going into, eating with unwashed hands. Okay? But you're not breaking any laws if you don't wash your hands, you know. Now you could do that for sanitary reasons, right? Okay, but you're not breaking the law if you don't wash your hands. And this is what this was about. And we're gonna go to Matthew the 15th chapter, right? It says, for the Pharisees and all the Jews, except they wash their hands off, eat not, holding the traditions of the elders. So this is what that was about. This is exactly what that was about. So we're gonna jump down to verse 18. It says, and he said unto them, are ye, well, I'm going to start at verse 17. And when he was entered into the house from the people, his disciples asked him concerning the parable. And he said unto them, are ye also without understanding? Are ye so without understanding also? So he was kind of getting on them, you know. Do ye not perceive that whatsoever thing from without entering into a man, it cannot defile him, because it enter into his heart, but it entereth not into his heart, but into his belly, Salakia, and goeth out into draught, purging all meats. All right. So it says, because it entered not into his heart, but into his belly, and that's really going into, you know, actual belly, and goeth out into the draught, purging all meats. Now, when it says meats, it don't mean like actual. It doesn't have to always mean. Let me say that it doesn't have to always mean meats, right? Meats can be, you know, you can eat the herb of the land, right? Real quick, just to, you know, verify that, you can go to Genesis, the 1st chapter, in verse Is it see the face? All right, 29. It says, and the Most High said, Alahayim said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, right? Every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat. You see? Okay? Just saying a representation of food. All right? But this wasn't about food. All right? This when you're reading this wasn't about food. Watch. We're gonna keep reading. And he said, that which cometh out of a man, that defileth the man. Okay? So like I said, they was talking about the traditions of men washing hands. Now, when you go to Matthew the 15th chapter, and let's see, let's say 16, it says, and Yahweh Shah said, are ye also yet without understanding the same thing? Do not ye yet understand that whatsoever entereth in at the mouth goeth into the belly and cast out into the draught? But those things which proceeded out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defileth the man. Okay? So for out of the heart proceeded evil thoughts, murderers, adulterers, fornication, thefts, false witness, and blasphemies. These are the things which defile the man. But to eat with unwashed hands defile it not a man. See, that's what it was talking about. It wasn't talking about food. It was talking about eating with unwashed hands. You see, these Christians, they use these precepts and admit they actually misuse them. So when it says that it's not which defileth the man, right? Or Salakia, verse 18, it says, but those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defileth the man. So, the things which come out of the mouth. So, basically applying that to today. Like, okay, so if you say that the Most High love, alphabet boys and, uh, Transformers, you defile, man. You speak that coming out of your mouth, that's defiling you. Okay? It says, or you can say all nations can be saved. That's defiling. His name is Yah, Yeshua, Yahweh, whatever you are not giving honor to his name, that's defiling. You're saying the mark of the beast is sin, that's defiling. You're saying one man, one wife, one man, that's defiling. If you teaching the hell doctrine, that's defiling. Women operating outside of the order, and vibration of their husband, that is defiling. Okay? Speaking those things, right? That's what defiling you. Okay? Because I mean, I don't. Well, I do understand because they were blinded. All right. Because when you read the NLT, right? Because like I said, this is talking about, you know, what that's what he gave it to you clear. These things is which verse 20. These are the things which defileth a man, but to eat with unwashed hands defileth not a man. So it is not talking about, oh, well, you can eat whatever you. I seen, because that's where this lesson comes from. This lesson comes from, I want to say, it's the the money making Mitch, the 2819 or 2918 church dude, bro. Like he's teaching the false doctrine, saying bless your food and eat. Well, like, okay, so you can eat a kneecap soup, man, human kneecap soup, right? Like Elder Yashawama said, a Komodo dragon taco, huh? Octopus po' boy, nah, bro, that's off, man. You see, so this was talking about the traditions of men, how they were keeping the traditions of men, okay? You see, but that inward man is still That inward man is defiled, man. Okay? So look, check this out. Like I said, apply that till today. You teaching these off doctrines, you're defiled, man. Right? Cause yeah, we hear the shit, but when if you start to teach that and say that, and say okay, or you go to hell for eternity, all right, or be if you're defiled, man, right? That's an evil thought, you see. So it's what comes out of a man, right? It says, but those things. I'm gonna read it again, verse 18. But those things which proceeded out of the mouth come forth from the heart, right? And they defiled the man, right? Abundance, abundance, heart. Watch. It shall speak. This is Matthew. This is Matthew 12:34. O generation of vipers, how can ye, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh. You see? So basically showing you that out of the abundance of your heart, the mouth speaking, man. That's what defiles you. What's in your heart, it comes out. Is whether it's gonna defile you from whatever you saying, man. Okay? Cause like when you check it out, right, real quick, let's see, we can go to James. James the third chapter. Right? Now look, check this out. The tongue is a fire. Right? Now read, well, matter of fact, let's go here first. Matthew 5. Matthew 5 and 19. Whosoever therefore shall, and I'll read it in the NLT. It says, so if you ignore the least commandment, this is your Hawashah. If you ignore the least commandment and teach others to do the same, you will be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But anyone who obeys God's laws and teach them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. Like you can close the book right there. You can really shut it down. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? The Lord didn't come. He didn't change the fact. Hey, man, you can eat these abominable foods now. No, man, you wacky tacky Christians just don't have no understanding on this, man. He's telling you, if you ignore the least commandment and teach others to do the same, you will be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. Now let's go back to that James. This is James 1, and I'm gonna read this in the NLT. This is James 1, James 3 and 1. One day, oh man, what's going on? It says James 3 and 1. It says, dear brothers and sisters, not many of you should become teachers in the church. For we who teach will be judged more strictly. Right? So, you over there teaching men. Right? You teaching men that, oh, the MOTB is sin. It's gonna be, or you gonna go to jail. I'm jail. You gonna go to hell, for eternity. Hey man, you be you gonna be judged strictly, man. At least you repent. Now I'm gonna jump to verse 3. It says, but we can make a large horse go wherever we want by means of a small bit in his mouth. And a small rudder makes a huge ship turn wherever the pilot chooses it to go. Like, how it directs the ship. When the horse got that, I forgot, is it the bridle, if you will, I think. So like if I'm wrong, you make him. If you want him to go left, you pull to the left. You want him to go right, you pull him to the right, right? And this is a small thing, right? Verse 5, it says, I'm going to read verse 4 again. It says, and a small rudder makes a huge ship turn wherever the pilot chooses to go, even though the winds are strong. In the same way, the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches. But a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And the tongue is a flame of fire. It is a whole world of wickedness corrupting your entire body. It can set your whole life on fire, for it is set on fire by hell itself. So your tongue can get you in a world of trouble, man. Even though it's a small member, it can get you in a world of trouble. You can say the wrong thing. It speaks about like, even though in the apocrypha it speaks about a man that slippeth with the tongue but not with his heart, right? You can slip with the tongue, right? Even though we sleep with the tongue sometimes. You know what I mean? That was just a point that I was making. But the fact that your tongue, like, you can, if you, it defiles your whole body, man. If you say, "Hey, all the nations can be saved," you you can say, "Oh, we the Israelites." You can say that uh you supposed to keep the commandments. You can say, you know, Yahweh Shai. You can say Yahweh what Yahweh Shai. But if you say that all nations can be saved and enter into the new covenant, all that don't, everything else that you talking that is right don't matter, right? Because from that one thing that you saying, it destroys your whole body, man. You see? So it's not what goes into a man that defileth him, it's what comes out. That's not, and again, that's not talking about eating abominable foods, man. We just read in Matthew the 5th chapter, it says that you're supposed to keep the commandments to be called great in the kingdom of heaven if you teach men to also keep the commandments, right? You see? So that tongue is something serious, man. So watch this. Let's go to Job. Job, the 12th chapter. Right? Let's go to Job 12 and 11. It says the ear tests the words it hears, right? The ear test, yeah, you hear, and let's apply this spiritually. You hear uh these men talk about hell, saying hell is a real place. The MOTB is sin, right? Or all nations can be saved. Mermaids, or whatever. You saying these off names, right? You hear this, right? It says the ear tests the words it hear, just as the mouth distinguishes between foods. So the mouth distinguishes between foods. Now let's get that in the KJV, right? Right? Let's get that in the KJV. So let's get this word. Let's look up this word, mouth. In the mouth, right? See? Okay. It says mouth. Oh, it says chayk, right? Chayk. I'm saying that right?
Strong's H 2441. Chayk. Chayk.
Okay. Now let's look in the Strongs. It says cake, probably uh, H2596, in the sense of tasting properly, palate or inside of the mouth, hence the mouth itself as an organ of speech. As an organ of speech. You see? So the mouth, right? Which is an organ of speech. Let's get it. Which is an organ of speech. Okay. Taste. Now let's get this word taste. Right? A mouth of an organ of speech. Taste. Right? It says tahwam. Right? Tahwam. If I'm saying it right. To taste. Perceive. Okay. So the organ of speech perceives. Right? Let's go here. It's taste in the mouth, tastes his meat. Okay? So it says meat, right? So we do know that when you deal with the scriptures, like, doctrine can also be considered as meat, right? Watch this. So in Hebrews 13. So remember we read in the NLT, it says the mouth, distinguishes between food. So we went into that word, when we went to the KJV, we went into that word mouth. It says the organ of speech. Went into that word taste. It says perceive. So that organ of speech perceives what? And we know into this word meat, when we read Hebrews the 13th chapter, ninth verse, it says, "Be not carried away with diverse and strange doctrines, for it is a good thing that the heart be established with grace, not with meats." You see, which have not profit them that have been occupied therein. So that word meat can also go into doctrines. Like, remember when Yahweh Shah said, my meat is to do the will of my Father? Okay? So now when you read that, going back to Job, it says, we can apply, uh, it says, "Do it not the ear try words, and the mouth, right, the organ of speech, taste, perceives, right, his doctrine." You see what I'm saying? So when you speak that tongue, right, it depends on what comes out of you, whether you are of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. You see? Let's see, right? Because it says what? And just going into the point, that okay, like we know that it wasn't talking about in Matthew 15 and Mark 7 chapter. It wasn't talking about actual foods. You know what I'm saying? It was talking about the washing of hands. But like is what defileth the man. The things that come up out of man defileth the man. So going into this, this Job 12 about the meats and whatnot. You see, so it's what you talking, what you speaking. That's what defiles you, man. Okay, you see. So it says the mouth tastes his meat. And the mouth to perceive, right? The organ of speech perceive, is doctrine, man. Whether it be of Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai. Right? Watch this. Speed. Uh, this is Second John 1:10. "If there come any unto you and bring not this doctrine, receive him not into your house, neither bid him Godspeed." You see, So going back to Matthew 15, just real quick, just to reiterate that. So when it says verse 18, "But those things which proceeded out the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defile the man." So if you're speaking not according to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, you are defiled. Okay? If you're saying that Yahweh Shai was a so-called white man and his name is Jesus, right? Then you're defiled, man. You know, you're defiled. You see, but Christians use this to say, hey, you can eat abominable foods, man. And when you look, watch this. When you go check out Isaiah the 66th chapter, you go get Isaiah 66. Isaiah 66 and 17, it says, and they look, let me start at 15. And this is what we bring out to you to let you know, hey, when Yahweh shall return, this is what it's gonna be. Look, it says, "For behold, Yahweh will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and his sword will Yahweh plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many." So this is clearly a future prophecy, right? "They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh, an abomination, and the mouth shall be consumed together, said the Lord." So you're gonna be put to death if you're eating swine flesh, and this is a future prophecy. So what are you Christians talking about, right? What are you Christians talking about here? It tells you clearly in the future prophecy when the Lord is coming back, when He's been sending His Son, right? If you're caught, you know, in the midst of abominations and eating swine flesh and doing things that are not of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, right? You're gonna be put to death, man, right? Basically, not keeping the commandments of the Lord. Not saying that keeping the commandments of the Lord is, how you obtain salvation, but it's part of it. Okay, that's not how you solely, obtain salvation. You can't be, nobody can be perfect in the law here, right? Watch this. Matthew 19. This is Matthew 19 and 16. Okay, Matthew 19 and 16. And it says, and this is Yahushua, and behold, one came and said unto him, Good master, what good thing shall I do that I may have eternal life? So he asking, how am I gonna make it to the kingdom? Everlasting life is what salvation is, right? Everlasting life in Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. And he said unto him, Why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, and that is the Most High. But if thou wilt enter into life, keep the commandments. You see what I'm saying? So what does this mean? That like what? Come on, right? Revelations 22. Revelations 22 and 14. It says, Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have a right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates into the city. What city, man? The kingdom of Yasha, man. Right? So you have to keep the commandments. Right? And another thing, watch this. Luke, right? Luke 5. This is Luke 5 and oh, Luke 5 and let's see, 12. It says, And it came to pass, and this is Yahweh Shai. I'm gonna just read it. And it came, I love bringing this precept out. And it came to pass when he was in a certain city, behold, a man full of leprosy, right? Who, seeing Yahweh Shai, fell on his face and besought him, saying, Lord, Yahweh Shai, if thou wilt, thou can make me clean. And he put forth his hand and touched him, saying, I will, be thou clean, because he had faith in Yahweh Shai. And immediately the leprosy departed from him. So he was healed. He was good, right? He was straight, right? But look what he said. And he charged him to tell no man, but go and shew thyself to the priest and offer the cleansing according as Moses commanded for a testimony unto them. So he already healed them through the faith, but he still told them what? Keep that commandment, the commandment of what? What you would do if you would have leprosy, written in what that is, Leviticus, the 14th chapter. Hopefully it's in here. I don't know if it is, but hopefully it is. Let me see. The cross references. Leviticus, right? 14. Yep. Leviticus 14. Let's see. Or is it 13? Oh. Right. And well, look, it's 13 and 2. It says, When a man shall have the skin on his flesh a rising scab or a bright spot, and it be in the skin of his flesh like a plague of leprosy, then he shall be brought unto Aaron the priest, or unto one of the sons of the priest, right? But then this is what he told him. He says, this is verse 14. This is the very next chapter. Chapter 14. This is the very next chapter. It says, Then shall the priest command to take him. Then shall the priest command to take for him, right? That is to be cleansed, 2 birds alive and clean, and cedar wood and scarlet hyssop. And the priest shall command that one of the birds be killed in the earthen vessel running over water. But this is basically going into what he would have to do, man. Oh, verse 2, Salaki. This shall the law of leper in the day of his cleansing. He shall be brought unto the priest. So he told him, hey, look, go keep, the law commandment that Moses, gave you, to our forefathers, right? He was already healed, but Yahweh was still what? Promoting the law, So again, we'll go there again and we'll close out, because I believe the point has been made. This is Matthew 15 and 20. Remember, this was talking about washing of hands, not food. These are the things which I'm gonna start at 18. But those things which proceeded out the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defile the man. For out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, and blasphemies. These are the things which defile the man. But to eat with unwashed hands defileth not a man. So, hey man, if you still don't understand it, you still want to eat pork, then have at it, bro. You still want to eat crab, shrimp, lobster, have at it. Crawfish, have at it, man. Just know that the Lord gonna destroy you. Shalom.